And now, the Cannabis Community Project proudly presents the Grind and Burn. Open up, Colorado. It's 420. Time to grind and burn.
This is not your son's stoner show.
Welcome to the Grind and Burn, a podcast from the Cannabis Community Project. I am Brainstorm, once again bringing you your weekly podcast about the business side of cannabis from the Ding Studios at 3835 Elm Street, Denver, Colorado. Thanks to all of our sponsors, and this week we're highlighting Dairy Berry's Recording Studio. Find him at dairyberriesrecordingstudio.com or call Mark at 303-456-8216. Oh, Cannapreneurs, how are you doing? Welcome back to the Grind and Burn. Thank you for joining me once again for another fabulous week here in Denver, Colorado. I am enjoying life. I am enjoying the slowly warming weather that is coming upon us for the summer. I am ready. Are you ready? The summer is right up around us. There's a couple events I want to tell you about. One is on June 11th. If you're in Colorado, close to the Boulder, Denver area, check out Netherland, Colorado for the Hemp Festival. I'm going to be there on Saturday. I'm going to be picking up my hemp brewed beer, my hemp brewed whiskey, and I'm also going to have a table set up there talking to young cannapreneurs in the hemp industry. So if you can make it, this is going to be a pretty cool event that you're going to want to get to. I also want to tell you, in the same month of June, my birthday is coming up on June 19th, the last day of Gemini. But I'm still a Gemini, and anybody that knows me can verify for that. But come out and celebrate my Gemini birthday with me on June 19th. And I say the 19th, but it's really whatever weekend that week falls on. So if you're thinking like you might want to experiment with some of this hemp brewed whiskey, hemp brewed beer, some gummies from Mouse's Edibles that I'm going to be picking up, some Shatter and Chroma from Dank, it's going to be a great party. But I am going to be hosting it down in the new location in Trinidad, Colorado, right off of exit 6 through exit 2 on the right hand. That's the west side of I-25. Look off the highway and you will see us. Well, you won't, because it's kind of covered and it's hilly and kind of mountainous, but we're right there, and that's where we're going to be the middle of June 19th. So send me a message, an email, if you would like to attend that little shindig. We're going to be having some fun in the mountains. You know, with so much going on this year, it's really time to focus on business, money, and growth and advancement. I mean, one thing is to have a hobby where you're basically just doing something because it's fun, it takes up some time, you're learning it, and it's more of a social interaction. That's kind of how this show started. The Cannabis Community Project started as a hobby, even though the intention was full throttle ahead business. It was kind of a hobby that first 6 months or so. Then I transitioned into more of a legitimate business by actually getting a website, upgrading the website, buying hosting and storage, getting memorabilia and swag made up. And now in year 3, I'm pretty much full speed ahead business. 90% of my time, I still do have to maintain a part-time job to make ends meet, but that's okay. There's no shame in having a part-time job. So if you're out there and you're working on your business, you're trying to get in business, you're debating, do I have to make this jump full in, head first into what I'm doing? No. You can keep a part-time job. Matter of fact, you probably should, right? Because stability, financial stability, is really what allows people to become and develop themselves as entrepreneurs. Having that baseline, knowing you're not going to starve, the rent's not going to go into default, you're not going to lose your car and all the other bad stuff that comes with not actually making money. When you get to a point where you have those minimal expenses, costs covered, but you still have ample time to pursue your other activity, well, that's the hot spot for the entrepreneur. That's when you got to strike. When you have the time and you do not have the need to simply work 10 hours a day just to buy food and make sure that your living situation is secured. No, go get yourself a part-time job. Go work that minimum wage so you can pay your cell phone, pay your internet, pay your car, your gas, whatever you need. But know that you're working towards something or away from something, right? I mean, by no means do I want to spend the rest of my life in this semi-crappy paid part-time job. I want to move on. I want to advance. But to do that, I have to keep my head down, keep showing up, and keep working so I know what I'm working away from, right? It helps me run that much faster towards my goal when I have that part-time job sitting on my heels and grinding at me, and every time I receive my paycheck frowning and wanting to drop down in tears for the low wages that I'm working for. But those low wages pay for things, and it keeps me going and moving forward. Because without that part-time job, I'm not sure I would have made it past show number 7. And this is really where the important part of thinking about your business from a financial aspect, a planning aspect, what are you going to do for the future? This is where it all comes into play. And that's why I was so glad to meet up with Tyler Gunderson, sit down with him, and talk about the finance industry and entrepreneurship in the cannabis industry and how planning and financial planning really plays into this. Tyler is a man who went through the hardships of owning a dispensary and then losing that dispensary. But he also has some great education, and he's building some great experience in the financial side of the industry. He's going to help people like me, people like you, understand how to plan for the long term, get the financing we need, how to go out and ask for more money, raise money. All very important things. It's not all about smoking and joking. Sometimes you just have to sit down and start doing paperwork. So when you're listening to Tyler today talk about the industry and his experience, don't just think of it as, oh, here's a guy talking about money or finance. That doesn't apply to me because, hey, I just sell hemp t-shirts, and what does that have to do with anything? Or, hey, this is just a hobby. I work a full-time job. I just make pipes on the weekend and sell them. That doesn't really apply to me. It's not my business. Even worse, you are trying to be in business, but you think you can do it on your own without advice because you're just so smart and you have everything taken care of. And what more do you need to learn in life? I used to be the kind of person that would kind of jump in and try to correct people and try to tell them, you know, you're just completely wrong about this, or you're not thinking about this, or that's not actually how it works. I've learned to conserve my energy a little bit more. So when I hear somebody, an acquaintance, talking about how they got it all figured out, they don't need help from anybody, they're going forward with their own ideas regardless of what anybody else says, because that's how you become successful, by sticking to your guns, all I can do is kind of smile and chuckle and say, I wish you the best, and I hope that does work out for you. Nothing ever turns out like you think it is, and it's not until you get older, when you have the perspective of hindsight, to learn that. And realize we don't know what the hell we're doing, even if we've been doing it for 20 plus years. We all need help, even if we've been doing it by ourselves since the beginning. Pride, as Marcellus Wallace said, that's pride, yeah. So let's jump right into this week's show. Let's get on up to our interview with Tyler so we can learn about finances in the cannabis industry. But before we do that, let's quickly jump back to our last week's short-term flashback memory relapse. You remember who we talked to? It was only a week ago. Think about it. What did we learn last week? We learned about testing. Cannabis testing, the industry. Man, wasn't Hannah so informational? She had so much information and she was on the spot. There was not a question that I asked that she was not prepared for, that she did not have a properly well thought out response. So she's either very good at this, very trained, rehearsed, and practiced, or she's just very smart, and that's probably why she has a neuroscience degree from CU and why she's managing the lab. But there were some things I learned about new for the first time from our conversation. So, you think you know everything about cannabis? You think you know how the testing world works? Listen to last week's show and compare and contrast. Did everything line up with what you thought? Did you learn something new? Well, here we go. I'm going to give you a couple minutes. Listen to it. Reboot your memory. If you didn't hear the full show, go back, listen to it, like, share, comment. Spread these shows with your network, because that's how we grow together as a community. right here on the Cannabis Community Project. Here we go, Cannapreneurs. Grind and burn.
I'm Hannah McGregor. I am the Hemp Program Manager for ARM3 Labs, a cannabis and hemp testing lab in Boulder, Colorado. We've been around in Colorado here in Boulder since 2009. We primarily started testing for the cannabis industry. So with microbial, we test for E. coli, salmonella, and total yeast and mold. Your total yeast and mold count is, the majority of our failures come in that area. And the limit for Colorado is 10,000 colony-forming units per gram. We have a standard flat rate, but we do offer volume discounts. I graduated with a degree in neuroscience in 2013. So pretty recent graduate, and in my time at CU, I did work at a medical marijuana dispensary. Certain labs, you can test for, a variety of cannabinoids. One thing with our lab is we test for CBG and CBGA, and that is a precursor for THC and CBD. We have so many people moving into the state looking to use CBD medications, cannabis, anything for some sort of supplement or, almost looking for a cure. So I'd like to see that education be able to expand elsewhere so that this product can get more easily into the hands of more people.
Very cool. Well, it was good to meet you.
You as well. Thanks.
Please keep in touch. Go to the website, listen to shows, and if you have anything in the future you want to promote, just send me an email.
Cool. Appreciate it. Woohoo! Well, thanks for having me. Totally.
Hey, Cannapreneurs, are you inspired by the stories you hear? Maybe it's time for you to tell your own story. Do it right here on this show, CannabisCommunityProject.com, or email me personally, brainstorm at CannabisCommunityProject.com. Hey, Cannapreneurs, let me take a second just to tell you about Cushly Organic Products. Their company puts out products that are used in hospitals, healthcare facilities, clinics, and homes throughout the United States and beyond. So Cushly has invented this very unique product that works like none other. I use it myself, and many of my close friends and family use it. What it does is it eliminates odor. It doesn't mask it. It's not a perfume. It's not a cologne. It eliminates it. And it's organic and it's non-toxic. And Cushly is one of the best. www.cushly.com. Also find them on Facebook and other social media under the same name, Cushly Organic Products.
6 degrees of Cushly. Yeah, it's amazing.
Good news!
Hey, how we doing? This is Jay Griffin from Dank. We're at 3835 Elm Street in Park Hill, Denver, Colorado. Come on down this Memorial Day for great specials on our foundation strain, Sour Diesel. Sour Diesel is a heady sativa, testing as high as 28%. We are going to be offering recreational retail eighths for $28 all weekend long. And on the medical side, you'll be able to walk at $18 eighths on Sour Diesel. Check it out. Yeah, we're proud to be sponsoring Twisted Sister Yoga ganja-friendly yoga retreat in Fraser, Colorado this June. Dank is the primary sponsor, which means everybody will be kept nice and elevated, if you know what I mean.
You do what you gotta do, you know?
So check it out. It's getting quite a bit of interest. We've got 60 people signed up. We have a ceremonial sacrament called a Ganjika ceremony that is gaining a lot of attention. In fact, the folks from Weedakit called the other day to try to get involved. So we're having this awesome yoga retreat. You all are invited. Check it out. Thanks for listening. This has been Jay Griffin with your weekly Dank update. Check us out online for the most update specials as we rotate through specials every single day to ensure you some quality pricing of quality bud. Quality. Check one. Hey, thanks for checking us out. This has been Jay Griffin with the weekly Dank Update. Please take a moment, check us out online, because that's where we're going to find the most up-to-date specials on Weed Maps and Leafly. We rotate through specials every day to ensure you can get top-shelf buds for a low, low price. Check us out at 3835 Elm Street in Park Hill, just east of Park Hill Golf Course and 1/2 mile south of I-70 at the Dahlia Street exit. Dank.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. My name is David Bush. I'm the president of the Industrial Hemp Research Foundation, and I'd like to welcome you to the very first fundraising activity that the IHRF has put on. We're at the Greenhouse in Denver, and we have a lot of interesting things going on today. We have several speakers on the general topic of industrial hemp on the cutting edge in Colorado. So we have people talking about some of the newest developments and most recent happenings in the industrial hemp industry. We have some demonstrations going on for hemp fiber, hemp building materials. We have some people who are in the industry selling consumer products. They're here today to sell some of their products and show them off. And we also have a very interesting silent auction that features a lot of hemp-related products as well as some other things. While they're at it, we also have some good refreshments, and I think we're just going to have a very good time networking with one another and learning more about the hemp industry.
Yeah, well, my name is Rich Becks, and I am the founder of Chimney Rock Farms. I bought this farm about 5 years ago. It was a organic vegetable farm. Prior to that, I was in the software business, manufacturing, so I'm a supply chain guy by heart. And, you know, my job really was to understand what things cost, where they come from, and never run out. After 30 years of watching the global economy start to be created, I actually participated in a lot of the offshoring of the things we used to do in America. And so I became a little concerned about that. I thought, well, I sort of, drank the Kool-Aid as well and said, well, it raises all boats. Everyone gets something out of it. But what I really started to understand was sort of the hollowing out of America and basically manufacturing, and that trickled down to a lot of other things. And, I took a trip 10 years ago cross country, and I went through so many rural towns that were practically empty. I mean, there were a few cars on Main Street. Most of the businesses had been shut down, and, I started asking the question, how did this happen? And being a supply chain guy, I started to research it. I started to go into, well, why did we make the decisions that we made? Where are all the farmers? I mean, farmers used to live here. And then I'd go out past their farms, and I noticed, where are all the animals? There are no animals on these farms. And so as I started to get to the end of my career in manufacturing and software, I thought I needed to do something. I took a long vacation, sat on the beach, and after my third Corona, I said, now what? I got to do something. And I started thinking about agriculture. And agriculture is pretty interesting when you start to study really what it is and how it changed us all. I mean, before agriculture, we shared everything. I mean, we had hunter-gatherer societies where we were all pretty much equal. The moment that we converted into agriculture, we had private property, and private property then begat organizations, which then turned into governments, which turned into a lot of other things. So you can trace a lot of things right back to agriculture, and why did we make those decisions? And when we stopped moving and we started to use a piece of land to our own benefit, we would say, okay, that changed us. So what I decided was to figure out what I could do in terms of agriculture in order to make a difference. And so I looked around at the food system. I wasn't really happy with that. I don't think anybody's really happy with it. I don't even think the farmers are happy with it anymore. And so I said, well, what if I became an organic farmer? Could I make a difference that way? So I bought the farm. It's a 60-acre organic vegetable farm in southwest Colorado. It was the largest organic vegetable farm in the region, and we did exactly what the prior farmer did, which is, we tilled the soil, we produced all kinds of vegetables, and we were local heroes. I mean, people loved us. And it was gratifying to know that your CSA members thought so much of you. But when I added it all up at the end of the day, you didn't make any money. To work that hard and make nothing, having come from another industry where it didn't work anywhere near that hard and made a lot more money, I kept thinking, what is wrong with this picture? Why do the people who work so hard make so little? And so I realized that the food system, in a way, and I guess, Bernie Sanders is saying this a lot, it's sort of a rigged system in a way. It's meant for the people in the middle of the value chain and the retailers, and it's all geared around them. And farmers are price takers, and they have been mechanized, commoditized, have been turned, into a unit of production, and they are become price takers, and they take whatever price they're told that they have to produce at. And they're encouraged to produce more than we need. And so they oversupply the market, and they suffer. So if you look at a corn farmer today, a bushel of corn went for $3.40 a bushel just a few weeks ago. The cost of production is around $3, okay? So they're making nothing, and they're trapped in a system they can't get out of. And so I tried to figure out, well, how can I do something that is different? And that's when I did the organic farming stuff. I wanted to add technology. I went out and did a aquaponics operation, put fish in, fish tanks, and I did a closed loop system where I built these greenhouses that were passive solar greenhouses. We designed them. We constructed them on site with farmhands. Basically, we went to Home Depot and got the material. They're about 6,000 square feet. We were producing food with no fossil fuels. We had solar panels that would run pumps that would circulate the water to the fish tanks. The effluent from the fish would then be circulated down these deep water raft beds that were out in the greenhouse. And floating on top of those raft beds were styrofoam rafts with holes punched in them. And that was where the lettuce grew. So much to my surprise, the lettuce started growing like 3 times faster than I could make it grow outdoors. I had no weeds. I loved the idea. And so we started to move towards organic lettuce production, aquaponically grown. And again, the product was superior to anything in the region. People loved it. We were heroes. But the economics, again, got back to the fact that a conventional farmer would pay a migrant worker less than a penny to pick that lettuce out in the field. It would all be mechanized. And his economies of scale were so much larger that he was profitable and I couldn't be profitable. I realized that localizing the food system was going to be really hard to do, but it needed to be done. It needed to be done because when you look out on the landscape of, let's say, what are the things that are worrisome, one of the things that is very worrisome to me is the energy supply and climate. And as a farmer, you cannot ignore the climate. It is different. Ask any farmer. I don't care who it is. They will tell you it's different. They may attribute it to other things, but they will tell you it's different. And it's harder now. So the bottom line is that we need to figure out a way to compete, and we need to do it at a local level and a local scale. So that's why I made that investment. And it would have gone, let's say, nowhere and maybe have ended that story had it not been for hemp. And hemp sort of dropped in my lap about a year ago. I got 37 clones in Dixie cups from a friend, and within 1 year I turned that into 5,000 plants. And we worked round the clock to do that. And that plant is a magical plant. It is not overstating it to say this could be a gift to farming, to reboot farming. And that's what I believe in. I believe that hemp is a gift. We have a second chance to rethink that. Because the margin is so good in hemp, and it's not going to last that way forever, but for now it is so good that you could do different things. You don't have to do dumb things, right? You don't have to sign up for a tractor that's going to cost you $400,000, $500,000 and still barely make any money. You could invest in passive solar greenhouses, invest in your soil. You can make your soil better, do no-till cultivation. You can put more organic mat on your land. A conventional farmer would think that's crazy. It's just like, I don't get paid for that this year, so why would I do that? I wouldn't make that kind of an investment because I have got to pay the bills this year. That's why I think hemp is a gift. It's going to give us a second chance, I think, to rethink agriculture. I'm hopeful that we use it, not just to make money. People will make money, but that we use it as an opportunity to rethink something that we did, and I think we did it wrong. And we have a chance to do it right now. And so this plant is, I think, going to change a lot of things. And I think people are going to realize that hemp really is a gift.
That was such a great monologue that I don't want to stomp all over it because you answered all the questions I would have asked anyways. So all I want to do is just have you give your contact information of where people can find either your website or whatever you want to give.
Yeah. What I'm trying to do is to get the word out. Take a second look at hemp and not look at it like marijuana. So our farm is in Southwest Colorado. You can reach me, Rich, at chimneyrockhemp.com. I'm on the web, so we have www.chimneyrockhemp.com. I have a website that sort of explains everything I just said. And the Facebook page, we spend a lot of energy putting it all out there. I mean, we're a research and development farm, and so we want people to know. And so every day what we do, whether it's cloning, transplanting, planting, harvesting, extracting the oils, the CBD oils, all of that is online. It's like getting a college course for nothing. There's a pretty nice community out there now, too, of people who are really, really passionate about this plant. Yeah, so Facebook, Chimney Rock Hemp.
Very cool. Thank you very much.
We be out here making money, driving cars.
You know, I don't pay taxes, don't need to, because everything is given, you give away.
Go to the grind, I'm gonna make the dollar.
These are the problems you have to deal with if you want to be a podcaster. There's no such thing as easy podcast. Now make up your mind, son. What do you want to do?
Just to make myself sick. Now Instagram my pic, cause this the life that I live. This the life that I love. For my life, fuck it. Just to see these kids break the bank. We gon' break the bank. Break the bank. We gon' break the bank. Break the bank. Break the bank. We gon' break the bank. Break the bank. Break the bank. This the life that I live. This the life that I love, bitch. For my life, fuck it.
My name is Tyler Gunderson, and I work with GrowWealth Financial, and we do financial services for the cannabis and hemp industries. Yes.
WEALTH?
Yes, sir.
And you're specifically focusing on the cannabis industry?
That is correct. Right now, we keep things a little bit more low-key, operate through email just so I can reach out and really find the situations where we can benefit the companies the most.
How long has the company been around?
About a year.
Oh, okay. So it just started. Are you a founder, an owner?
I am.
Are you the founder and owner?
I am the founder and owner. I founded it based on I owned a dispensary, and I saw the need for...
Here in Colorado?
Here in Colorado, in Fort Collins, back in 2012 while I was in school. And I saw the need for businesses in the cannabis industry. Basically, they needed help with their financials, be banking, investing, how to grow their business, find outside investors, things like that.
So you went to school for some type of finance or accounting?
I did. Finance and economics. Colorado State.
At Colorado State. Nice.
Yes,
and then you owned a dispensary. So help me understand how you go from one to the other, and I would assume a short amount of time.
So, absolutely. so what happened in 2012, Fort Collins elected to have dispensaries, and then not too much longer later, the city shut us down. And that's when I decided to help businesses kind of beat that type of problem and beat the regulatory risk and figure out ways to do things.
So So take me through how you went from being in school to being a dispensary owner.
I was a caregiver for a long time. Me and a group of friends, we were caregivers, and then that evolved into opening up our own dispensary when it became legal in Colorado in 2012.
So you applied for a license?
Absolutely.
And you were permitted that license, and you invested in everything it took to get that dispensary going.
That's correct.
So you cleared out your savings accounts.
That's right.
You took all your student loans and invested it into there.
We can't really say that, but yes. Yes.
What else are student loans for other than to have money to do other things with, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I would assume that's why they give us such unseemly amounts of money, more than what tuition is for most people, unless you're going to some godly, insane, expensive school.
Which I wasn't.
For most people, going to state schools like I did, I mean, you get a lot more money than what tuition is. And most of the time you have grants and scholarships, usually accompanying pieces of that, and then working, where you usually end up with a chunk of money every semester. And I know that's how I funded my personal businesses and ventures throughout my schooling years. So I assume you did a similar situation.
We did. Finding the right team was important. So finding a group of guys with similar visions, similar goals, and similar hobbies, I guess you could say, was important, and it just kind of evolved from there.
How long did you own the dispensary?
Just a couple months, because shortly after, the city of Fort Collins, at the request of the caregiver kind of uproar, shut the dispensaries down. So at that point, every dispensary in Fort Collins had to close their doors. The dispensaries that weren't located elsewhere, Denver, other areas that had revenue still coming in, were forced to shut their doors.
And you lost everything?
Yes, sir.
All investment?
After paying the licensing fees, that's correct.
And there's no recourse at all?
No. There is, you do it over if you wanted to get back into the industry.
Now, when you have a license, is that a license that you have regardless of the location where you are?
They made certain rules around where businesses could operate.
So because Fort Collins wouldn't allow it, does that mean you lose your license, or you just lose the ability to operate within Fort Collins?
Within our location, within the location that we had spent all the money to put together.
Okay, but you still had the license, and then you just sold that license off to somebody
Yes,
else.
sir.
Were you able to break even on that sale?
No.
No.
But I learned a lot in the process, and that's really what helped me form GrowWealth, is seeing what happens when regulatory risks can shut down businesses, and having a plan B is really important when you're in this industry.
Let me suggest then that you definitely keep in touch with Jay, who you just met out here, because one of the other businesses they operate on premise here is called the Denver Consulting Group, which is a consulting group that puts together applications, licenses, and other regulatory stuff for dispensaries. So there might be some great collaboration and crossover there.
That is perfect.
So do stay in touch with him. Right behind this building is the Denver Consulting Group, where
Absolutely.
every week they're opening up dispensaries all around the U.S., actively involved in those application processes and the whole deal. Kush Bottles is kind of a bigger company that they're an affiliate with here.
Absolutely, they're out of California.
Yeah, and then they have the Denver Consulting. And then if you look to your left as you go out the back door, you'll see another building which is currently under renovation, which is going to be the new event space, co-working space, cross-media space. It's going to be a new building, but it's going to be smoke-friendly over there since it's
Awesome.
off-premise from dispensary.
Awesome.
So this block right here is really growing and becoming a cannabis community in all senses. Many businesses, even in this building, there's a couple other businesses that operate under this roof.
Absolutely.
So-
And that's really what my background. I've seen the power of what, cannabis can do to an economy, whether it's, your little towns all over the Colorado that are now businesses like you just mentioned are popping up, not even necessarily cannabis businesses, but, you got your yoga businesses, your ancillary services, all types of things. So.
What is your specific training or education of finance? What specifically are you kind of focusing in on?
Investments and investment banking.
So you're not necessarily a stockbroker. You're not an accountant.
I also have my stockbroker licenses, so I can help people with that part of the industry. But right now, really the businesses that are in this industry, I recommend always putting your money back into your business, because that's really where you're going to grow. That's really where you're going to see. That's where you have the most equity, and that's where you're going to see the most profits. If you have a business plan and you have a vision, I always encourage to put money back into that, especially when it's just getting started.
Would you say you're then more of a consulting
coaching aspect of it where you're helping people through the process of setting up their investments, doing some analytical comparison, that kind of stuff?
Absolutely. That's why I left it at financial services. So I help people from anything from, finding banks to work with to coming up with investment strategies, retirement planning. But my focus is in investment banking and getting businesses funded in mainly their second and third round stages. So not so much your seed money, but the next step to help your more established brands grow.
Are you familiar with Canopy Boulder?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's probably a whole group of people every semester up there that would love to talk to.
And that's exactly what I see. I see, being able to feed from them, take, they're the companies that become successful based, out of their program and helping them with the next level.
A lot going on up there under the bigger ArcView umbrella. Kind of a different path of business where if you're really looking to team up with an organization, get a small chunk of money and kind of take that route. Other people are looking to kind of do it on their own, just get the money and try to do it on their own. What relationships have you found locally here with banks? Are you finding commercial banks to be receptive? Are you having to go to credit unions and local regulated city and state level banks? What type of relationship are you finding?
You just nailed it exactly, on the head. We have to find more service-oriented businesses. The commercial banking industry, no, they are not touching it. They're staying away. The guys, they don't even really want to talk about it right now. Just mainly because it is Schedule I, and until things change on that level, they are not receptive. The minute things change, they're going to be very, very receptive because it's a booming industry.
Yeah, I'm in a dispute right now with Chase over closing my bank accounts. My lawyer and I have a phone call on Monday to them because I am not a cannabis business. I don't grow, touch, sell, distribute. I don't do anything with cannabis other than talk about it and have the name in my title of business. And they use that as a basis to close my account. So there's potential litigation there.
and that happens everywhere.
Yeah.
That's happening all over the state. It's forcing these businesses to turn into a cash model, and that's dangerous. Other businesses don't have to go through that, and neither should cannabis businesses.
Right. Or businesses who aren't cannabis businesses,
exactly.
who are just media businesses that just have the name cannabis.
And that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's a naming thing.
The state of Colorado do not have a problem with me forming my LLC with the name cannabis in it. I don't know why the bank should have an issue with it.
Exactly.
If the IRS can give me a tax number based on what I declare, the state of Colorado can register me. I think a bank can stand behind that and say, if a state can do it and the IRS can accept it, I think we can take our risk also.
And that's exactly where I believe things should go, where things will eventually go. And right now, like you said, it's really only small credit unions and people that had existing relationships with bankers that now know them, basically can turn around the negative stigma of the industry and, vouch for the people instead of the businesses, I guess, is really how they're looking at it.
Well, I suggest people just do what I did, which is just redo your paperwork online with the Secretary of State. So my LLC was the Cannabis Community Project. It is now the Cannabis Community Project.
Exactly.
And this is how ridiculous of a world we have to live in. I had to cut 3 letters out of the title, and now it's a flying high business with everybody else. So it's ridiculous, but that's just the world we live in.
The hoops we have to jump through.
Speaking of investments, are you familiar at all with cryptocurrency?
No.
Bitcoin?
Bitcoin, yes.
Okay, Bitcoin is cryptocurrency.
Okay.
Cryptocurrency would be the big general term, and Bitcoin would be one of many types of coin that exist under cryptocurrency.
Okay.
This might be something you want to look into as a financial person.
Absolutely.
Looking for investments and looking to help guide people that are cash businesses into safe, secure ways to put their money that banks won't allow. We won't go into a whole conversation now about it, but definitely something to look into because cryptocurrency is a place that allows people with large amounts of cash to put their money somewhere in a safe, secure place. Safe and secure, not valuation, just safe and secure that nobody can steal it from you, nobody can get it from you, and it's not going to just disappear one day. Doesn't mean the value will drop to zero.
Yeah.
It just means it's safe in its location. So look into it because
I think there might be some good crossover there, especially with what's going on in the industry. Dispensaries are popping up with Bitcoin ATM machines.
That's what I've heard, yes.
And what this does is it allows me as the customer to make a purchase anonymously, because cryptocurrency is an anonymous form of currency. And it allows the business owner to have a 100% perfect record-keeping system, because cryptocurrency works on what's called a blockchain, I guess.
Like a wallet for Bitcoin?
Kind of. I mean, a wallet works on a blockchain technology, which is basically just a record-keeping technology that cannot be falsified and is 100% transparent and is infallible.
Sounds perfect.
So there's a lot of crossover with finance, and I think with what you're doing, you're definitely going to want to look into that.
Perfect.
And since you're going to be in Walsenburg, you should just come on down to Trinidad and hang out in one of our meetings that we have where we talk about this every week.
I would like that. I would like that.
Yeah.
Definitely.
It's called the Aurora Cryptocurrency Center is the name of the place. And the new location being formed down in Trinidad just this last week bought up 70 acres of land where we are reviving the town of Morley, the mining town of Morley, and we're going to make it the new 2.0 mining town of cryptocurrency. We're going to start mining cryptocurrency from there.
That sounds awesome.
So cannabis friendly. Anybody that wants to come camping, bring your tent, come on down, hang out in the woods, the mountains. And yes, it is the mountains, even though it's Trinidad.
That's right.
Believe it or not.
That's right.
So, where were you born?
I was born in Bismarck, North Dakota.
Right. How did you get to Colorado?
I moved here when I was young. So I grew up in Fort Collins. I pretty much consider myself a native, even though I can't technically claim it.
I feel that way too. I was born in Madison, Wisconsin. Left there when I was 7.
Okay.
Lived most of my life in southern Colorado, northern New Mexico, Four Corners area.
Yep.
So I consider myself kind of from here, even though I was technically born in Wisconsin.
Exactly. I just actually moved back from Minnesota myself.
Minnesota, huh?
That's right. That's right.
What do you got there? Family, friends?
Family, yes. I was doing financial advising up there in the more traditional sense, working with your farmers and your ranchers. And
Minnesota is coming along. Not as fast as Michigan, not as fast as even probably Wisconsin, but they're coming along little by little.
Little by little is
what I think will be the savior is the Minneapolis-St. Paul area seems to be turning into the new hipsterdom, Austin, Texas kind of cool place where people want to go and hang out if you're cool.
Absolutely.
And that might be the one thing that kind of helps push that state where it needs to go, is the influx of people coming in those kind of big cities being the center points of politics for the rest of the state. But it's a big state, so
that's right.
Who knows?
Right. No,
10,000 lakes, right?
Yeah, right. Right.
What does that mean, though? What defines a lake?
I think they have 10,000 ponds.
10,000 ponds.
Absolutely.
Great place.
It is.
A little cold.
Absolutely. During the winter, yes.
So you grew up here, you went to school in Fort Collins, got a finance degree, went through a couple months of a dispensary, got burned there, and then decided don't really need to be involved in a dispensary to be involved in cannabis. You just need to take your skill or your training and apply it to cannabis, which is pretty smart, right? Owning a dispensary, if you've never owned any type of retail, it is just as ridiculous of starting a McDonald's, or starting any type of store where you have no real retail experience. Yep. But if your experience is in finance, then all you have to do is just put the word cannabis in front of it, and now you have a legitimate business. And that's what I tell everybody. Don't quit your job and go find a job in a dispensary, because first of all, you'll make minimum wage, and there's not a whole vast amount of skills you're going to learn outside of just growing, cultivating, and retailing weed.
Exactly.
But if you want to take where you came from, whatever world that was, and now just put the word cannabis in front of it, you don't really have to quit anything. You just refocus your demographic of who you're marketing and who you're going after. And I think that's a great way to do it.
Exactly. You get to do something you're passionate about. And that's what's great about these programs like Canopy, ArcView, is they're giving people in the industry a chance to do something they're passionate about. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's what it takes to progress this industry.
What did it actually take? You said about a year you've been in business. What did it actually take to put that stake in the ground? Did you just have to get a business card and just start telling people this is what you do? Did you actually have to build a website? Did you have to go register an LLC? Tell me a little bit about the basics of what you did to actually get in business.
Absolutely. So we formed an LLC right away, right off the bat, partnered up with some investors that saw the vision that we were portraying. and kind of helped us form a business model. We took that business model and reached out to everybody we could. Right now, I think a hotbed in the cannabis industry is LinkedIn, because Facebook kicking all the cannabis industries off of Facebook. They all have to go somewhere to advertise. And we've been meeting tons of people, tons of businesses.
That's where we met, right?
That's where we met, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I have 2 Facebook profiles. I have a personal one, and then I have one for the show.
Yep.
And the one for the show is 98% only cannabis connections, because that's the only people I seek out to connect. And because of the way my profile is structured, it's pretty obvious what I'm doing. So the only people really connecting with me are also like-minded industry-related people. So now I have 2,500 connections just of cannabis-related connections because of that. Facebook, I have no idea. I mean, I'm sure I know how many are in my group and on my page, but I don't know the actual connection of their profile in industry.
Exactly.
I think LinkedIn is also better myself.
Exactly. I mean, so it's provided a place where, you know, all these people come and you have investors, you have people starting businesses, and basically we just started connecting the dots. And really what we wanted to do was maintain confidentiality. We don't want to be out in people's faces waving this around. We want to be a legitimate business that helps people run legitimate businesses. So what that means is our advertising model is a little bit different than you see some of the other funds that are currently around, and in that we don't come out and flat out say that we're a cannabis only investment fund, because we think that paints a target on your back, like you mentioned with Chase Bank. I mean, that's I see that every day.
Right. And you might exclude clients that there's no reason to exclude, right?
Absolutely.
Just because somebody is not specifically a cannabis business doesn't mean they can't benefit from what you're offering.
Absolutely.
So there is some good logic behind that.
Yeah, exactly. We need other things to invest in that kind of hedge our heavy involvement in cannabis, because there's a lot of regulatory risk in this industry right now, and that's what we're doing is we're mapping the way for people to get into the industry and avoiding regulatory risk.
Did you write a business plan?
Yes.
How extensive? How lengthy? Detailed?
It's gotten more extensive as we go.
It keeps growing.
I think that's, the key to a good business plan is adaptability. And as you start building a business, you learn that not everything is as you envision it in the beginning. And we've had to adapt. We've had to deal with a lot of things legally.
What was the first draft of the business plan? Give me an idea. Did you sit down one night with you and your partners and just kind of hammer it out, do an all-nighter? Was it a thing where you kind of started, did a few pages, passed it along somebody else, and then you collaborated? Because I'm a believer in business plans. I'm a believer in just planning, and planning for the purpose of just understanding what you're doing. And I tell people, write it down. Always write it down.
Exactly.
If you have an idea and you want to pursue it, don't just talk about it. Write it down so other people can collaborate with you, and you can see where you're advancing, where you're regressing, where things aren't working out.
That's exactly right. More heads are better than one, and I've always had that model. And so that's exactly what we did. Is we found some experts in the industry, or people that we believe are experts, that have had a long road in the industry. Whether California has been medicinal since 1996. So we reached back into California, found some people that have been in the industry a lot longer than people in this neck of the woods, got some expert opinions, I'd call them, and went from there and just bounced the business plan back and forth. And I still maintain working, my normal job while I did this and put it all together.
That's a great piece of advice. There's people probably listening to this going, I can't write. I never went to school per se. I did finished high school, but I'm not a college person. I didn't do a business program. I've never written a resume, let alone a business plan. You went to school, so you probably have written business plans.
Absolutely.
Right? You probably have written reports, but yet you still went and sought out somebody else to base everything off of. Instead of going out there and saying, why not write a business plan and sitting down and typing up some manifesto, you still went and got somebody else.
Absolutely.
So what that tells me is that anybody can do a business plan. You don't have to be a business major. You don't have to go to school. You don't have to do it by yourself. All you have to do is have the balls enough, the courage, the desire to find somebody who's done it before you and just ask for some assistance.
Exactly.
Right?
If you reach out to people and you share, kind of what you're trying to do, you will, if you ask enough people, find people that align with those goals and those dreams and those aspirations and want to help you. And that's really so you don't have to know how to write a business plan. You just have to not be afraid to ask, because really you're never going to get a yes if you don't ask.
Yeah. I'm sure if somebody were listening to this and was inspired and wanted to ask you, they could contact me and you would be cool with me passing them your number, your information?
Absolutely. That's always been my attitude. In this new industry, we need to be in it together. We need to push forward, further the industry, make it more acceptable. Yes, I would absolutely be willing to take on any questions that people may have.
There's a lot of hesitation. So when you wrote your business plan, did you wait until everything was perfect before you started? Like you waited until list 1 through 10 was in place, you had all the I's dotted, T's crossed, and then you started action, right?
No way.
No. How did you do it?
I started talking to people far before I even had a business plan, because this has always been what I'm passionate about, back to my dispensary days and seeing the power of the industry and how many people it can help. With that, I started talking to people far before I even knew what I was going to do.
What did that do? By telling other people before you've even initiated anything, what did that do?
Besides make me look stupid to some, it opened the doors to talking to others about what they're doing in the industry, what directions other people are taking. Eventually, you find people that you can provide value for and that can provide value for you.
Did you find it pulling you along by telling people what you were doing rather than keeping it to yourself?
Yes, 100%. It helped form and seek out what the industry really needed in an exact niche. And without it, my business plan was so scattershot because I do so many different things. Now I've found a team that handles the retirement planning piece of it and the investing part of it, a team that handles the banking part of it, so that way I can go out and really focus on helping these businesses find the funding that they need to grow.
I think that's probably just the key right there, is to tell people, because keeping things to yourself, I guess, relieves you of obligation or recourse and responsibility. If nobody knows I'm trying to start a business, nobody knows I failed at trying to start my business, right? Which means if nobody really knows I failed or I'm going to fail, then I guess I don't really need to get up this morning and do 100% of what I need to do. Maybe I can do 80% because, after all, if I fail, well, I haven't told anybody, so
exactly,
there's no pride on the line.
You're your own boss, so are you going to get fired by you? No. So you really need people to keep you in line. Exactly what you said. Give you priorities and make you push yourself further along and further along, so that way you're not given 80% days, because those don't build businesses.
It's like anybody that's ever tried to diet, it works exactly the same.
Exactly.
Tell people you're on a diet and then go try to eat a cupcake and see what happens, right?
Exactly.
You'll have people walking by you going, hey, Tyler, what are you doing, man?
What are you doing?
I thought you were on a diet.
While they're eating a whole dozen cupcakes themselves.
Come on, man. Don't eat that donut.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
It could be negative, but I think for the most part, it helps push you along. It obligates you to what you say you're going to do, and it helps other people get involved into what you're going to do.
It helps you get those balls that you were talking about.
So I'm a business, or I'm thinking about a business, and I don't really have an accountant. Matter of fact, I don't really have any money. Just barely opened my business banking account. Should I still be financially planning for my future?
No, you should be concentrating on putting all your energy and all your focus and every penny you have into your business plan if you believe in it.
Okay.
Because you can't have a future without building something first.
Okay.
And that's really what it takes. So you can build something over time, gradually working in the traditional sense, or you can build a business and work when it's appropriate for you.
Let's say the business doesn't matter. I'm a dispensary. I'm a hemp textile maker. I'm a hemp seed manufacturer. I make pipes. It doesn't matter, but I'm some type of cannabis business. Can you give me like a 3-step? These are the 3 things you should think about when thinking about the financials of whatever business you're getting into. Doesn't matter if it's a multi-million-dollar business or the mom and pop working out of their garage, getting T-shirts pressed off the line type thing. What are some basics we should be thinking about from a financial aspect?
Anytime you're creating a business, I'd say first and foremost, keeping your business and your personal things separate. As you know, if you mix business accounts and personal accounts, it just gets hairy for your accountant, for your business. It makes things harder down the line.
But hold on, I'm mom and pop business, right? All I'm doing is selling some hemp little hats that I made, right? And I'm just a sole proprietor. Matter of fact, I'm only registered as a sole proprietor, no LLC, nothing like that. So does it still matter that I'm mixing my personal recreational stuff with what I'm doing for those little hemp hats I'm making?
It depends where you see the vision of your business going. If you're trying to create a business where you are trying to do more than sell little hemp hats and you want to make a brand out of it and turn it into a larger scale business, then I'd say yes, start in the beginning mapping that out, because then you don't have to unwind things as your business gets bigger.
Yeah.
If you want to stay and do it as a hobby, sell hemp hats on the weekends and at festivals and in Red Rock's parking lot, then by all means, I don't think it matters to mix business and personal.
But then they wouldn't need you, right?
But then exactly. Then you
or
don't
maybe
need
they still do, because maybe they need somebody to help them realize probably still not the best idea, right?
Absolutely.
What are some of the big barriers you're seeing? Because you're dealing with people's finances, so people are already probably a little skittish to talk to you. You're dealing in an industry where people really don't want to talk about finances because everybody's a little scared, and everybody's scared to actually say how much they're making because they're worried of the recourse,
Absolutely.
right? So what are some of the barriers you are seeing as a financial service provider, right? Because you're not selling any products, right? You're selling yourself. So you have a different sale to make. How do you go about it? What are the barriers you're hitting?
Well, like you mentioned, for the first part of my business, it's exactly that. People would rather talk about their sex life than they would talk about their money most of the time. So getting people to trust you, talking about money is your first obstacle, obviously. And then throw cannabis on top of that, like you said, it gets tricky. So you deal with a lot of no's, and you deal with a lot of people that are very standoffish. And those are the people that no matter how much you ask, no matter how much you show them value, they might still stay in their ways, and they might still try to figure it out themselves. But there's those people that, once you show that you've provided value to people in the business, that word spreads and your business spreads, and then referrals and how
it's the catch-22 though, right? How do you show referrals when you're starting out, when you don't have any referrals, but you need referrals to get people, and it's very much a catch-22. How are you going about it? What is your strategy and your daily marketing tech?
Well, there's two parts of my business. One is, raising the money for the investment fund to be able to invest into these businesses. So I'm talking to investors all over the country, actually all over the world, that are looking to get into the cannabis business that are very, very hesitant to do it. They say they want to get into it because they see the potential. They've heard, the stories of the lines in Colorado. You go to every dispensary in the state. I don't know any other business you wait in line for.
Krispy Kreme was the only one I knew of. Matter of fact, I have a rant not too long ago I went on where I remember when Krispy Kreme came to Colorado.
Exactly.
There were lines.
Absolutely.
But then I broke it down in this very long, well-worded rant about how today you find them in cold boxes in 7-Eleven.
Yes.
And how that transition happened. But you're right. Other than that, there's not too many businesses, unless it's intentional, where people are standing in lines to get your product.
Exactly.
So there's definitely a demand.
Yep.
Now we're dealing with the how do we supply it.
Absolutely. And this goes for anybody starting their own business and attracting investors. It's all the same thing, coming up with a solid business plan, a business plan that makes your business as least risky as possible to investors, because that's what they want to avoid. They want to avoid the ATF or the DEA coming in and freezing your business, freezing your funds, because that's still happening all over the country.
Do you have any way of protecting those businesses, or are you strictly just a consulting advice? Here's the parameters of what we're working in, and this is what I'm giving you.
There's no way to protect people from the federal government on that level. I mean, they can really come down and shut everything down. I've heard cases, they shut a whole family's accounts down because dad owns a dispensary, so now daughter's card doesn't work. So there's nothing you can really do besides try to manage your risk in a way that you can maybe take some of your eggs out of that basket. So my suggestion would be to those dispensary owners to, once they're seeking profits, once they're making money, to, get that money into the banking system, diversify it into other things, into other sectors, whether it be stocks and, Apple or oil and gas, just
or cryptocurrency. Now you're really going to want to go investigate cryptocurrency, because everything you're saying is just right in line with what this whole world of cryptocurrency exists for. And it's not negative, right? It's not negative to have anonymous money. It's not negative to have money that the federal government can't touch.
People have been doing it for years.
Right? It's not wrong to have money that's not under the control of the Federal Reserve System. That's just bad for some people, but it's not wrong as an individual or as a society. It's not morally, ethically wrong. There's nothing illegal going on. It's just who controls the money and who has the ability to stop it or take it, as you're saying.
Exactly.
And put your money in cryptocurrency, and there's no feds that are going to be able to come and take it unless they physically come and take you and all your computers and everything else.
And the people have been doing it for years, like you mentioned. And offshore banking really has a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, but it really isn't the negative stigma behind it. Sure, there is, some that's not, the money's not here on American soil. Whatever the case may be, people have been doing it forever, and it's not illegal.
Well, the only stories we hear are Panama paper type stories.
Exactly.
So when we do hear about it,
negative press.
It's the most conspiratorial, low-down activity of scoundrel attorneys and this is what we hear about.
Exactly.
But I mean, offshore banking is not illegal. And there's a reason why it's not illegal. You're just supposed to do certain things when you offshore bank. Not doing those things are what's illegal, but the act of just simply having your money offshore, there's nothing morally or legally or anything wrong with that.
No.
It's the transparency issue is what I think is what the root of it is.
Exactly. And I think what morally is wrong is having, forcing businesses to keep tons of cash in their houses with their families. And,
right.
That's a huge security risk. And it's just...
in their place of business, on their persons, when they're traveling back and forth. Right. That is morally wrong in the sense that where there's high cash, there's higher potential of crime.
Exactly.
And you could mitigate that by allowing people to not hold large amounts of cash. So by not allowing that, you're kind of intentionally saying, I'm allowing the risk to happen.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you're not allowing, that money to get into the economy and into other sectors. Like, people aren't going to keep all their cash, and it's going to go everywhere. And as you've seen Colorado, just the economy, look at it since, marijuana has become legal and the growth in this state. And the people I talk to every day that have moved from all over the country just to come here. And, a lot of them, like you mentioned, it goes back to the bud tenders comment you made earlier. A lot of those guys, you don't get paid a lot to be a bud tender. You got guys coming from all over the country that lived in a place where, marijuana wasn't legal that now think it's the absolute best thing in the world to work in a dispensary, rightfully so, because it's what they moved here for. And they're willing to do that for a lot less money than some of the locals.
But I mean, I guess if you're coming from standing behind a counter at Conoco for minimum wage, and now you're looking at minimum wage standing behind a counter of a dispensary, you're right. Dream job.
Exactly.
But if you're actually looking to advance in life financially, everything, not just how much you get paid, but your whole status in life, being a bud tender may not take you as fast as you want to get to where you want to get to. But the problem that it points to is just the lack of jobs really available in the industry, which is why we need more people doing kind of what you're doing, is just taking whatever you do in normal life and just putting the word cannabis in front of it to expand the cannabis industry, but also expand the type of jobs and careers of people involved. So if I'm a physical therapist and I want to be a cannabis involved physical therapist, there's my outlet. I don't have to go be a bud tender. I used to be a physical therapist, but now I'm a bud tender because I want to be in the industry. Just go be in the industry. Just be a cannabis physical therapist.
Well, exactly. And it goes, there's nurses now that are cannabis supportive nurses, and there's natural medicine and NDs rather than your MDs are becoming all more prevalent as the prescription problem in America, and just losing Prince. And, the country is going to change. The country is going to change. It depends what side of that you want to be on, really. And because the industry is going to move forward, people, now is the time to get in. If you have those ideas, if you have a good plan, like you mentioned, that doesn't deviate too much from what you were doing before, why not?
Yeah.
People want new ways to manage their pain rather than, going to the pharmacy. A cannabis physical therapist sounds amazing.
There's not much more pain that comes than not being able to deduct normal business expenses, than having to pay full taxes, than having to classify yourself as a business but not participate in any of the business benefits. Exactly. That's very painful also.
Sit on the ground.
So what was your vision when you started this service? Where did you kind of envision it taking you? Expanding into a full financial company, multiple aspects of the financial industry, offices all around the state. What was your big vision?
So my big vision was to always be headquartered out of here, but I want to work all over the country. I think it's important to diversify. So within my fund, we're going to diversify geographically, state by state. As more states get legal, we're going to have the necessary inputs already set up in these states where people can come in and make good businesses.
And you're wanting to run a fund and do consult?
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're not just doing consulting, you're also trying to build a fund that people can invest into to and that you can all profit off of?
Consulting is really what I do just because my passion for the industry. I've been in it a long time. I know a lot of people within the industry, and I love to connect people, and I love to talk to people about what they do. So the main purpose of my company is this fund and is to get more businesses funding all across the country, but consulting is really my love.
Now, is this a fund where you're investing in startups, or you're just diversifying and just doing across the board everything and trying to accumulate a 3% return? I mean, what is the fund?
So basically, living in Colorado, we got the opportunity to see kind of what happens to an economy when marijuana turns legal. If you look at things from businesses that weren't geared towards the industry, for example, your hydroponic stores in the industry. If you look in Colorado, there's some big chain hydroponic stores that within the time that the industry went legal, quadrupled the size of their business. And those are really what I want to be able to capitalize on, and what I want to give my investors access to is those kind of returns that aren't as risky as some of the other things like your dispensaries, your cultivation sites, and things like that.
Yeah, a lot of people going after the pie in the sky type investments. So I want to invest. What do I need to invest in your fund?
So right now, the way my fund works is we're taking out money from accredited investors. What that means is right now we haven't really come up with a way for everyday people to get involved in a fund. We can't open a mutual fund of cannabis right now. We just can't. There are companies that are working that out currently and trying to figure that path out, but it's legally, it's a much tougher route than a limited partnership.
Even pursuing something through like the Jobs Act of 2012, where you're getting non-accredited people to buy micro shares of companies and do that kind of stuff. Are you really looking at it as kind of a just conglomerate fund? Credit investors put big amounts of money in and you go after a few projects a year? Or is it something where you're looking to have many, many, many people and then you're going after many, many different projects, all bringing in small returns, but collectively it's adding up to a bigger number?
What I see is many different projects. And really my reasoning behind that is I want to further the industry. I want to progress cannabis into every state, as I already believe it should have been a long time ago. So to do that, I think the biggest impact would be to find big money and get it into the industry. And that's what we're really looking to do. On the side, that's opened the doors for a lot of, side investments. A lot of people are looking for, seed money or getting their businesses up that don't have revenue streams yet. I do have routes to take, like you mentioned, Canopy, ArcView, and some other routes are out there that people that are creating startups can take. Really the companies that are producing revenue, that have figured out the regulatory, issues within their company, that are looking to grow into new markets.
Yeah. What one thing do you need that you don't have yet to really make what you're doing take off?
I would say more state support. This industry, it's so new. At least the legality side of it and the recreational side of cannabis is so new that it's working everything out and staying compliant is really our main focus. And this election year is going to be huge.
Yeah. So many questions that I have just in general. But let's do this. Come back in a few weeks.
Absolutely.
Where we can kind of pick out specific type of things to talk about, because now we kind of have a general introduction to who you are and what you're all about. Maybe we can do like a reoccurring thing where we can take specific financial things and spend maybe 20 minutes per time kind of looking at those, and do more like a reoccurring type thing every few weeks to kind of get some good financial information incorporated into the show, rather than having me just spend 2 hours throwing you every question I can possibly think of.
Absolutely. No, that sounds great.
Are you at a point yet where you're doing this full time? Is this funding your lifestyle 100%, or are you having to do other jobs?
I'm also in investments at one of the major companies that I can't really discuss.
So you don't work any other jobs, is what you're saying?
I don't work any other jobs.
So this is what you do full time.
This is what I do full time. That is correct. That is correct.
Okay, excellent.
And I operate fully off email. Confidentiality is important, and in that we would just prefer to not advertise as a cannabis business, a big fund, so that way the government can come and shut us down.
So where or how, if somebody is interested in talking to you, can they get a hold of you?
My email is ty@growwealthllc.com. That's all one word, GrowWealth, growwealthllc.com.
Excellent.
I'm on social media on LinkedIn. You can reach out on LinkedIn. I think that's a great place to go if you're looking to get into the cannabis industry. All the connections are there.
So. And they can find you on LinkedIn
at Ty Gunderson is my profile name.
Excellent. Okay, so we've covered some vast ground here, and hopefully we've gotten a good amount of kind of what you're doing and how you're doing it out there. We're going to have some follow-up. We're going to have you come back and maybe focus on some more defined topics of things we can really get into to help people work through this process of getting involved in the industry, getting structurally set up from their banking, financing, accounting sides of things, and really just understanding the general process of moving their business forward. So that would be my intent, is to have you come back and really help people work through these processes of what it takes to get involved in a business, whether it's their own or somebody else's, and understand it from a financial side of life, which more people should understand.
That sounds great. Yes, I agree. I agree 100%.
Because there's one thing that's probably going to be true for most of us getting involved in this industry, is that probably initially you're not going to be making a lot of money, and you're probably going to be spending more than you make.
Absolutely.
And it's going to cost money.
With any business. I mean, with any business, and especially when you're passionate about it, and there's some passionate people in this industry.
And even if you're good, and even if you have a great product, you're still probably not going to make a lot of money right off the bat.
That's right. That's right. A lot of competition out there.
Just some things to keep in mind when thinking about finances. Very good, Tyler. This was a great conversation. I appreciate you coming down.
I appreciate your time.
Learning all about you.
Yes, sir.
Very cool. Any last shout-outs, pieces of information, anything you came here hoping you would talk about that we didn't get to?
Not at all. I just wanted to let people know what we do and what we see in the industry and where things are going, and offer a handout if anybody has any questions.
Very cool, man. I appreciate it. Thank you very much for being on the show.
Thank you very much for your time.
That's all I got for you this week, Cannapreneurs. Thank you for listening in, and thank you to everybody that's been supporting this community over the years. Keep following us after the show on all the social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Massroots. We're out there. You can find us just about anywhere, even YouTube. So make sure to come back next week and join us for another show where we'll be discussing more topics, interviewing more guests, and this is getting bigger because of you. We'll see you next week.